In this demo, we're going to be exploring Incorta as a unified data and analytics platform, pulling data from Salesforce as an enterprise data source, and allowing end users to create reports and generate insights all within a single end-to-end platform. Let's actually take a look at the Incorta platform overall to get a high-level understanding of what Incorta is and the value that it could serve within the technology ecosystem. So Incorta is what we call a unified data and analytics platform. Now what this means is you see all these source systems on the left-hand side here. Now this demo will focus specifically on our ability to connect to Salesforce as an enterprise data source using our pre-built Salesforce connector. And in this case, we're able to use Incorta to not only bring data into the Incorta platform, but also to perform a fair amount of data engineering and data analytics on top of your enterprise data within a single unified platform. So contrast this with a traditional approach of piecing together a BI stack composed of many tools or different applications in order to facilitate the steps that you see here. So whether this is using legacy tools or even modern technology, this process is always inefficient and costly compared to Incorta. So because Incorta exists as an end-to-end platform, you can do away with piecing together your BI stack with costly and inefficient tools and leverage Incorta solely all the way from data source to visualization. So with this high-level understanding of Incorta in mind, let's next jump into the Incorta platform to explore how Incorta can serve as that end-to-end unified data analytics platform on top of Salesforce data. Now here we see the Incorta front end. Now upon signing into Incorta, I'm taken to the Content tab, where I can do things like create, store, organize dashboards and reports. But what I would like to do for this demo to show Incorta as that unified all-in-one platform is follow the flow of data from source system all the way to these front-end dashboards. So the first thing I'll do is navigate to my Data tab, where you can see I actually already have a connection set up to Salesforce using our pre-built Salesforce connector. So using a username, password, and token, I can actually connect out directly to Salesforce and leverage the existing Salesforce APIs. So I can test that connection and make sure that it's up and running. Now, before we actually take a look at the data that we've already brought into our Incorta environment, I do just want to point out that we have the ability to leverage other existing data connectors to connect out to things like databases, enterprise applications, file systems, query services, data lakes, and the one thing that I really want to point out is that we also have this custom connector down here. So if there is a data source that doesn't exist in this list that you might be interested in, we can also leverage this custom SDK to build a connection to existing data sources. So the next thing I'll do from my Data tab is navigate over to the schema. So a schema inside of Incorta is where we're able to store all the physical data coming from our source transaction systems. So in this case, this would be salesforce.com. So what I want to show inside of this SFDC schema is our ability to pull in data directly from transactional systems. So in this case, we brought in 22 tables from our Salesforce.com environment, and these are tables that are commonly used for Salesforce reporting. So if I navigate to our diagram tab, you can see the complexity of the relationships between these transactional tables that we brought in from Salesforce. So again, this means we can pull in things like custom tables or even custom fields from delivered Salesforce tables. And again, this approach differs greatly from that traditional approach in which we can pull data out of source systems, but generally speaking has to go through a round of ETL to transform, aggregate, and summarize data into the format that end users will use for reporting. So next, if I navigate to my business schema, I want to showcase our internal semantic layer. This built-in semantic layer is a key concept inside of Incorta because it allows us to build and maintain a curated view of our enterprise data for end user consumption. So you can see here I have a business schema called FPA business schema. And if I go in here, I can go ahead and edit this business schema just to show the ability to create some complex calculations on top of the transactional data that we're bringing in. And then finally, we're taken back to our content tab. So we're going to spend the next 5 or so minutes actually going through a set of front-end dashboards that we've created. And the purpose of these dashboards is to provide insights to things like total bookings, upsell and renewal, and forecast data coming directly out of our Salesforce environment. So if I go ahead and navigate to our SFDC reporting folder, so I first want to navigate to our FP&A report dashboard. Now this is more of a tabular or operational reporting dashboard as it relates to actuals coming out of Salesforce. So here's some of the visualizations or insights on this dashboard. And if we really want to drill into the data here, we can see that we have access to Salesforce actuals, Salesforce forecast, and then the delta between actuals and forecast. In the second row of tables, we actually have a little bit more advanced metrics. So things like our ability to attain our forecast numbers, our prior year actuals, in addition to the variance from prior year actuals to this quarter. So we can see just looking at this high level, looks like our variance to prior year is definitely down across the board. But interestingly enough, we've actually attained or exceeded our Salesforce forecast in most cases. So the nice thing with an Incorta dashboard is I can come up here and I can actually select a prior year or a prior period. So maybe we'll select a prior period, which is Q4 2019. And it looks like our actuals are actually a lot stronger across the board in the previous period. So that might be something we want to look into. Let me go ahead and select our Q1 2020 and we can work our way down this dashboard. So another piece that we might want to look at is our Salesforce actuals as they relate to the various regions across our Salesforce organization. And then at the bottom here, we actually have access to upsell and renewal information. So we can see things like our upsell and renewal mix. So how much of our upsell comes from renewals versus standard upsell. And this ranges generally from about 30 to 15%. We also have access to this table, which gives us some advanced metrics in terms of upsells and renewals. One other thing we can do with this operational reporting view of the data is I can come up here and I can actually share this data in email format across my organization. So all it takes is for me to just enter an email address and I can send this dashboard to any email address that I choose. So next, we're actually going to navigate to a more analytical approach to dashboarding inside of Incorta in this actuals versus forecast dashboard. So as you can see, this is a bit more modern approach to dashboarding and really providing insights to our end users. So here we have some nice KPIs which show our financial strength this quarter versus last year. We can also see a trailing 6-month view of our actuals and total bookings versus last year. And unfortunately, it looks like we are actually a little bit behind pace from this time last year. And if we continue to scroll down this dashboard, it becomes pretty evident why. So if I look at the months of January and February, then we don't have any upsell coming in those months this year compared to last year. So I can continue to scroll down here and we have a lot more insight that we can gain from this data, doing things like breaking up our total bookings by new logo versus upsell, renewal, service, and training. And I can go in here and I can really start to drill into the data from this high level analytical view. So I see here that North America and EMEA are trailing both South America and APAC. So here I can actually drill into North America as a region to get to the opportunity owner level. So because this is Incorta and because we brought in the transactional data, we're able to get all the way down to the transaction line. So for instance, if I'm interested in Ben Daniel, who looks like an opportunity owner in North America, I can see deals that Ben has closed in Q1 of 2020. And it looks like Ben has closed one deal, which is a renewal deal worth about $1 million. And I can come down here and actually look at some information related to upsells and renewals as well. Now I can also remove the filter on Ben to see all opportunities closed in North America in Q1 of 2020. So in a short 3 to 5 minute demonstration, we've gone all the way from connecting out to source data, viewing the data inside of an Incorta schema, also going through the semantic layer, which is our ability to organize, categorize, and reformat data for end user consumption. And then finally, we've gone through a set of end user facing dashboards in which end users can get their hands on the data to really start to answer questions, all within a single unified platform. So next, let's switch back to our presentation to really dive into that comparison of Incorta versus that traditional BI methodology. Armed with this understanding of the Incorta platform and the value that we're able to drive for our customers, I next want to dive into contrasting the Incorta approach with that of a more traditional BI stack. So the diagram that you see here is what I would consider a traditional BI value chain, keeping in mind that the traditional BI value chain has existed for decades. So whether you're implementing a more legacy BI stack or even all modern tools, you're going to have to go through a similar process. So step one in that process is the ETL process, meaning extracting data from your source system, transforming data, reshaping data, then finally loading it to a data warehouse. So the data warehouse in that traditional BI value chain is where the data sits in a very rigid structure. From here, we oftentimes go through an extra modeling step in which we're pushing data to things like a data mart or a multi-dimensional warehouse. And finally, the visualization piece, where end users actually get data in their hands. So underlying this entire process is generally the presence of consulting services needed to get this process off the ground and really to support this process even after implementation. And the reality of this process is that it generally takes, in a large-scale BI implementation, many months, if not many years to implement, and many, many millions of dollars to support. So if we contrast that with the Incorta approach, what you see here is the ability for Incorta to cut out all the intermediate steps and connect end users directly to source systems. So this has two main sources of value for an organization. Number one, we can greatly reduce the time to insight. So this not only means high performance on front-end user-facing dashboards, it also means the ability to very quickly go from source systems to visualizations within Incorta. Number two, it greatly reduces costs. So all of the technologies and all the steps that I just talked through in that traditional BI value chain come with associated costs and associated licensing and maintenance fees. With Incorta, you can cut out the need for all of these external and additional tools and put all of your data warehousing needs into one single platform. So based upon this understanding and the fact that we've already seen Incorta as a nicely formatted visualization tool in that end-to-end process, I now really want to dive into how Incorta can serve as that data warehouse for an organization and do things like snapshotting or the ability to maintain historical data. So before we dig into a solution that we've already developed inside of Incorta to maintain historical data coming out of Salesforce, let's actually take a look at a specific opportunity inside Salesforce to really dig into what I mean by this. So if I look at this specific opportunity, we can see a lot of things from this opportunity overview page. So we can see that this opportunity actually was closed won with a close date of 2/10/2020. We can see the lead source and other items, including the opportunity amount. But the reality is, if we ever want to go back and look at historical data related to this opportunity, we've lost all of our history inside of Salesforce. So let's now dig into how we can leverage Incorta as a cloud data warehouse to maintain that historical opportunity snapshot data coming out of Salesforce. So if I now navigate to my schema tab, let's take a look at how this is done inside of Incorta. So let's go back to our SFDC schema and click on the opportunity table detail page. From here, let's take a look at our data source and notice that we've enabled incremental loading here. So what's going to happen is every time a record is updated in Salesforce based upon the last modified date, we can actually capture snapshots of this data. So let's go to my content tab. There's a folder here called snapshot, and what I want to show is this SFDC opportunity snapshot dashboard. So right off the bat, if I go ahead and search for the same opportunity that we had just seen inside of our Salesforce environment and scroll down, this is an example of how we can maintain that historical data going all the way back to the demo through validating the tech fit, agreeing ROI, procuring, and then to that close one status. So if you recall, this is the only line that's actually showing up inside Salesforce, but inside of Incorta, we're actually maintaining all the history for that single opportunity. So if I go back up here, this allows us to do some extremely valuable analysis around things like how many opportunities am I winning from a qualification to a one, or how many POCs am I actually winning? Again, because we have access to all that historical data, we can actually calculate the number of days between qualifying an opportunity and closing, or qualifying and moving to a POC. Additionally, because I have all that historical data, I can do things like look at the opportunity stage velocity. So in this case, of opportunities that are in stage 4, 5, 6, or close lost, I can look at how many days are actually spent in each of these stages leading up to a stage. I can also look at the funnel analysis, showing me at which stage my opportunities exist and how many have I closed in one based upon how many are in this funnel. And finally, I can do similar analysis in terms of calculating the number of days between stages for a given opportunity. So if we scroll down here, we can see this opportunity here. Looks like there were a lot of days between stage 2, 3, and 4, and 5. And compare that to another opportunity that we have in which it looks like we were able to progress stages pretty quickly, but we've actually been stagnating in stage 4 for a while. So again, if you think back to Salesforce as a data source, we're not able to maintain this historical data. However, utilizing Incorta as that unified data and analytics platform, we can deliver all the key functionalities of that traditional methodology, including things like Incorta as a cloud data warehouse, or Incorta as an ETL solution, or Incorta as a front-end visualization tool, all within a single unified platform, which happens to be much more efficient and cost-effective than that traditional solution. So in closing, I wanted to again touch upon comparing that legacy BI stack to Incorta as a unified data and analytics platform. So we've already talked through some of the performance benefits, but now I want to touch on more of the tangible benefit of including Incorta as an all-in-one platform. So in this graphic here, you actually see the approximate licensing and the annual maintenance cost for that legacy BI stack, or what I call that legacy BI value chain. So we have a database tool such as Exadata, an ETL tool like Informatica, a reporting tool like Oracle's OBIE, and then finally a package data warehouse like Oracle's BI apps. So with this legacy BI stack, even including some modern approaches to these tools, we're looking at anywhere between $1.7 to $3.2 million annually in licensing and approximately $700,000 to $1.2 million on maintenance alone. Compare this with the fact that this legacy BI value chain also includes the need to employ 3 to 10 full-time employees just to support and maintain those systems over time. Compare this to the Incorta platform on the right-hand side of this graphic, in which you get the database, ETL tool, reporting, and the package data warehousing all in one platform. And again, a reduction in overall effort because a general Incorta implementation requires anywhere from 1 to 2 full-time employees to monitor and maintain. So in closing, an implementation of Incorta is not only beneficial to employees and the overall reduction of effort, but also there's a very tangible benefit in including the reduction of overall licensing and maintenance costs on an annual basis.